going to show you what you need to do if you purchase a fresh sourdough starter from British Sourdough. The first thing that you're going to receive is a pot of fresh sourdough. Now when it turns up, it is going to be hungry, but that's okay. And you're also going to receive a card with instructions on the back. And I'm just going to go through those instructions and show you exactly what you need to do. So the first thing is you need to have a set of scales and a jar. Preferably a push top jar so that the starter is able to breathe in the jar, because you can find with a clip top jar that it can either build up the pressure too much and sometimes even break the glass. So the first thing we're going to do is pour in the starter. Now it is a good idea to weigh the jar when you first start and keep a record of that, because that's going to come in very handy later as we feed the starter. So the first thing is just to put the starter into the jar. So you're probably going to end up with about 25 grams. I put in 30 to allow for the fact that some get stuck to the side. And we're going to feed this with a 1 to 2 to 2 ratio as its first feed. To zero the scales and add in 50 grams of water, which is filtered and doesn't include any chlorine. And then we're going to add in 50 grams of flour. We're looking for a protein content of around 13 or above, so that it's a nice, good quality flour. So we're going to put in 50 grams of flour there, and then stir it up. It should go nice and thick, not particularly runny, so you can see that it is nice and thick. What we're going to do now is put the lid on and then leave it and come back and see how it's doing. If you can, put it somewhere nice and warm just to give it a little bit of a help. There we have, pop the lid on. And then leave it on the side, and we're going to come back later. We're now about 4 or 5 hours in. It's completely changed. As you saw before, it was like a thick, very thick sort of gloopy texture, and now it's gone to starter. So it's probably a little bit over there, to be honest, because it's quite warm today, but now I can feed that and start baking with it. It's entirely up to you. Remember, there are 2 types of feed for your starter. One is a maintenance feed and the other is a baking feed. The maintenance feed keeps it alive every day, keep that as small as possible, and then the baking feed, just make as much as you need for your loaves. So if I wanted to take this down to a maintenance feed, I'd just discard it back down to 50 grams of starter and then feed it with 50 and 50 flour and water. And then if I wanted to bake with it, it would depend on what I want to do and what my ratio is. So I have 150 grams here. If I did a 1 to 1 to 1 ratio, I would then have 450 grams of starter, so I could bake 3 loaves of bread with that. But equally, that'd be at a 1 to 1 to 1 ratio. But then equally, if I wanted to make a lot more loaves than that, then the ratio would just increase, because I would then want more starter. In theory, I could feed this enough to make 100 loaves, 200 loaves, 300 loaves, and so on. The bacteria in here would just keep on growing. Might take longer for it to double and be ready for baking, but it will work for you. So there you go. That's how you use your sourdough starter when it arrives in the post.